Ciao, ciao. My name is PJ. I'm here with the wonderful Hannah Chutzpah. Yes. And Hannah, please tell us about the book that you have just published.
So I have a book out with Burning Eye Books called Permeable. It's my third collection, but it's it's the biggest publisher I've been with. And yeah, it's my best stuff so far, arranged vaguely according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. As a kind of, I looked at what I already had and what the sort of themes were, and it was basically millennial life, like, you know, my life and the lives of my friends and loved ones, and how people who've graduated straight into the recession, we keep changing jobs, houses all the time, and that constant sort of fracture impacts us. That's why one of the reasons there's a lot of mental health issues around, more so probably in our generation than some previous ones, is we are constantly getting messed about by, like, we don't have the stability that and that impacts you in all kinds of subtle and less subtle ways. So I vaguely arranged it according to Maslow's hierarchy of needs, with physical needs and safety needs, and love and belonging, self-esteem, and then the pinnacle of self-actualization. But yes, as the title implies, it's more mixed up than that. Right,
well explained. So there's the plug
done. Woo!
And so you chose to publish with Burning Eye Books. Burning Eye Books are a publisher based in, I think, Brighton, or based in the UK at the very least.
Based in the UK. I've forgotten what city.
I don't know. Somebody tell us in the comments. Why did you choose to go through Burning Eye as opposed to any other publication? There's Allographic Press, who publish a lot of spoken word poets. There's obviously Blood Axe, who have been publishing in the UK for a long period of time. They're more literary, but why Burning Eye, and then pros and cons of Burning Eye? Okay.
Oh goodness. I mean, so for publication, full stop. So I have previously had something published with Allographic.
Okay.
And they're great, they're lovely, but they are a much smaller press. So I had started thinking, okay, I think I had two fringe shows, done a UK. I think I've done a UK tour. I think I'm ready to play with the big kids, and I did start writing off to different publishers. And basically, if you write off to publishers, you'll get a stack of rejection letters. That's how it works. I did actually do a few internships in publishers. I was completely prepared for it. I wasn't surprised. So I got a nice rejection letter from a few places, including Blood Axe. But yeah, I'd previously applied for Burning Eye has a window.
Yeah, when they're accepting submissions.
Yeah, and I'd done that the year before, and I'd been told, no, but we like you. So then they actually came to me the next year, ahead of the publication window, and went, we would like to invite you to submit. And I was like, okay, this sounds promising, good.
The likelihood of publications just jumped up.
Yeah. So yeah, they took me, and I was very happy to go with them. I think pros and cons of different publishers. I mean, frankly, if you find a publisher that is willing to publish you are lucky. Take it. That sounds good. I think it's more about which publisher is most likely to want to do your stuff, and that's going to be based on whether what they tend to publish fits. It's about the fit rather than a sort of star ranking of these guys are 2-star publishers. These guys are
it's a super important thing for people who want to publish their collections to know. It's not necessarily about who's got the biggest name or who is most respected, blah blah. It's about knowing who knows your field, and who knows the stuff that you are writing, and who also is the best fit for you. There's some people that try to apply to like Faber and Faber for their first poetry collection.
Good luck.
Exactly. Also, you wouldn't expect Faber and Faber to be publishing, a new unestablished writer or whatever. Meanwhile, you look at very small independent presses, let alone presses that have been started by poets themselves. Anthony Noxuguru's got his outspoken stuff, and it's very much a grassroots kind of thing. That's the thing I love about Burning Eye as well, is that they've gone to a lot of the UK spoken word scene, and not only they know it inside out, up and down the country, it puts them in a really good place to be able to genuinely hype their writers, and to really give the writers the time investment, also monetary investment that they need and deserve to create a great publication. I found it very funny a few years ago when self-publishing was a big new phenomenon, around the time of 50 Shades of Grey, and all of it.
You could be a millionaire with this.
Indeed, and everyone got the starry eyes. Everyone got, oh, this is going to be the thing that makes me.
Yeah,
and it's like, no, that's
well, for a percentage of people, but it's not everyone by a long shot.
Did you think about self-publishing, and did you self-publish your other collections?
So Allographic is a smaller press where I put in some money for it, but obviously they did quality control and they have their own distribution and stuff. So it's sort of somewhere between self-publishing and then I did a pamphlet last year. Oh, time flies. Last year with so I had a UK tour.
Yeah.
And so the way I thought of it was, this is merch. Mm-hmm. So it was sort of self-published again with by the Spirit of the Rainbow Heron Trust, who are the people who'd funded me for the tour. No. So that was that. It didn't say self-published on the back, but that doesn't really have distribution in the way I saw it was. I've got something to sell while I'm on my tour. That's what I wanted from it. It was basically what was in the show and a few things connected to the show. Whereas the Burning Eye collection is much more, they've got proper distribution, so it's going to be in bookshops, available in a much wider range of places. So I definitely wanted something that could stand on its own. Mm-hmm. Whereas the other one, it's tour merch. If someone hasn't seen the show, the odds that they will have this book are slim to none. So it's a different thing.
And what about the kind of obviously like writing and editing process? Were you working with an editor at Burning Eye?
Yeah.
And so I mean, how? Basically, I've not had a collection published,
sure.
And this is all like personally just so I can try and figure this out.
Sure.
Like, what was the tips in it?
Yeah.
What was the editing process like? How involved were they? I mean, obviously this changes for every poet and every published writer and every publication.
Sure.
But what was the process like for you, and what were some of the interesting parts about it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I probably shouldn't have been, because it's not like I've worked with lots of very talented writers and editors, and I've done a lot of group session stuff where everyone feeds back about each other's work. But I was really terrified that it was going to be a real editor.
Oh, a real editor.
Which I mean, I've worked as an editor. This makes no sense. But I had this like huge, it's a real editor, this is extra scary thing. And then when I sent off the sort of first draft of the manuscript, it was like, these poems in this order. So her name was Harriet. I've forgotten her surname. Oh no. Partly she standardised the punctuation and did a couple of double checks and like.
So the proper nuts and bolts, nitty gritty detail. So
there was like
stuff.
Proofreading type stuff, but then also all the like comments in the margins were just like, I love this one. This bit's great. I really relate to this. And I was on cloud nine for a week. I'd been so nervous about it being a real editor. And then it was lovely process. There was a lot of back and forth. I think we went through 7 drafts, but that was mostly me getting neurotic about different elements of... Like, I was so nervous about having a big... It's going out beyond me. It's going out into bookshops.
And onto bookshelves.
And just, like, whether it will stand the test of time. So the bits that are the tried and tested pieces in it might be things that I've been doing for years and I'm bored of them, but I know that
to a new audience
they're good. Or does this work on the page? I know this is great on stage, but is this gonna come across? Is my tone of voice when I do this piece gonna come across, or are people gonna get the wrong end of the stick and think I'm a shit? There's all kinds of different elements that I was nervous about. So most of it was me constantly tweaking and then sending it back to her to go, is this all right? But yeah, no, it was a fairly... If you're used to having other people read your stuff and do feedback, and I'm part of quite a few different writers groups, then I don't think it was that different, if that makes sense.
Okay.
It started to seem like a real final thing when my friend Hannah Morgan, who's a very talented web designer, and she did the book cover for it. Nice. When I was round at Hannah's and she was... making the book cover was the thing that seemed to make it final for me.
When it all becomes a bit real.
Yeah. Initially I was terrified about the editor, but then the editor turned out to be nice, so that was fine. and then most of the rest of the process, it's me scribbling or tweaking things in Microsoft Word, that looks much like the writing process. So the book cover was the bit that kind of made it real.
And how did you? So obviously you've been obviously like performing would you call them performance poems? And like it's obviously performed poetry. Yeah. But how did you go about kind of changing the form, or was there a change in form from putting out on stage to locking it down to a page? Obviously, I know that you've had previous publications before, but was obviously now that you have published by Burning Eye, a larger press. Yeah. Was there a bigger change there? Was it more important to try and make sure it worked on the page? Or?
Yeah, I was just straight up more nervous about every element of it. But I think, part of my whittle process for which poems made the cut and didn't was, this is good on stage, but does it work on the page? Or this was one of my best things when I first wrote it, but have I got better stuff now? Also, there was a lot of, there's a few things in it that I don't tend to perform, but do work better on the page. Yeah. Like, when I talk about what I do gig-wise, I describe myself as a performance poet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there's the element of which bits translate, which bits don't. There's a lot of quieter, more still poems that, usually the shorter ones, are the ones I don't tend to do on stage, because I think on stage you need a certain amount of time for the audience to get in it. Yeah, no,
I completely agree. You need, it's when you're performing, there's a lot of sort of stagecraft, which is just about guiding your audience towards a message you're trying to put across in that set. Whereas when you have obviously a collection that is themed around, there's a lot more space to be able to put in smaller pieces, more reflexive pieces, more withdrawn pieces. Yeah. And I find that they're the ones sometimes when you're reading a poetry collections that will really hit you fast. That will be like, oh wow, I didn't know that was there, and it will stay with me. I've started reading way more poetry collections in the past 2 years than I had ever done before. And in the way that people read poetry collections, sometimes you'll be skimming through them and just like reading really, really fast, but then there'll be one or two that'll just be like, oh, wow, stay with that. Yep. I'm looking forward to seeing all of those in your collection. Have you got, like, it's a cheesy question, but have you got a favourite piece or one that kind of jumps out at you when you put it, or made more sense within the collection than it had done otherwise?
I think there's...
I'll put you on the spot here.
Yeah. I think there's it's a few of the stiller ones and the calmer ones, which the more pagey ones, as I think of them, which I don't tend to do on stage, that I was like, I'm really pleased that that's now got its day. Whereas there's things that I've done on stage 50 times that I like it, but I'm not like excited about it like it's new in the same way. Yeah. So I think probably there's one called Verdict, which I wrote. I've got a lot of friends who work in stuff about bringing the police to power, bringing the police to justice about things like friends who work in death and custody cases. I've got a friend who worked on the Hillsborough.
So policing the police,
so
spy cops.
It's called Verdict. Yeah, and it's kind of about afterwards when everyone's pretending. Oh, I'm just going to explain the poem poorly. But yeah, there's a few sort of stiller, more contemplative pieces, which I did one on stage a while ago, Genesis, which it's not in the collection, it's more recent than that, which is one of my favourite pieces that I've written in recent times, but it's probably about a minute long in stage time, maybe slightly less. And there's Ben Fagan on the music. Hey. And there was a giant gap when I went off stage because it was so short that it was like, oh crap, right, okay, music. Like, yeah, the shorter pieces I don't think necessarily had their time in the sun in the same way, so it's nice to...
Well, I look forward to reading Verdict. I look forward to reading your collection Permeable, available through Burning Eye Books. Plug. Yep. Thanks for coming here and chatting about publishing and poetry. This has been Hannah Chutzpah. I am PJ, the Repeat Beat Poet. Cheers.